Seventh try. Naruto was snapped out of his musings when he heard something behind him. Glancing back, he barely registered the urge to smack his forehead when he saw a brown box with two holes facing him. It was an eventful day. Meeting the old man's grandson, he had managed to somehow become a rival of Konohamaru in becoming the Hokage. He had knocked some sense into the boy's head, showing him that not everybody bowed to him just because he was the Hokage's grandson. Ever since that day, he became an object of hero worship. Turning to the box, he said with some exasperation, "Konohamaru, square boxes with holes don't exist, you know?" A squeaky, muffled voice came from the box. "Wow, discovering my presence this early, as I expected from my rival and my hero." There was a bright explosion of colored smoke, from which three figures emerged, coughing. "Hey, you used too much powder." It was then they noticed Naruto looking at them with something akin to amusement. Naruto was looking at Konohamaru and two other kids he had never seen. One was a boy with black hair, glasses, and a runny nose. The other was a girl with orange hair, a slight blush on both her cheeks. Konohamaru grinned up to Naruto. "Boss, you have some time, right?" Naruto looked confused at what he was trying to say at first, but he quickly pieced it together. Hyper 8-year-old with friends, asking if he was free or not. "Yup, they wanted him to play ninja with them." "How about you humor them?" Kurama asked with a grin. Naruto rolled his eyes. "If I humor them, Kurama, I would be stuck with them all day. That's something I don't want to have to do," he said with resignation. Turning his attention back to Konohamaru, he said, "Well, I do have some free time. I won't be able to play ninja with you. You guys get too carried away." He tried to gently let him down. Then something struck him. "Hey, you haven't introduced your friends. Who are they?" "I'm Udon, and I like numbers," the black-haired boy greeted in what was the deadliest voice possible. "And I'm Moegi, the most beautiful kunoichi in Konoha," the orange-haired girl said in a bubbly voice. Naruto smiled. Oh god, how innocent these kids are. "What's the point of a ninja playing ninja?" A voice that sounded detached came. All of them turned to look at Sakura, who looked like someone who had just been told her Sasuke was gay. Naruto's expression became his usual bored, indifferent look. "Sakura, what are you doing here?" Before Sakura could reply, Konohamaru nudged Naruto with a sly look. "Hey boss. She's your right?" he asked, holding up a pinky with a smirk. Naruto chuckled. "No, Konohamaru, she's just my teammate." That seemed to fire up Konohamaru even more. "Just what I expected from my rival. Her forehead is huge and her chest is as flat as a board." Naruto's head snapped to Sakura to see a reaction. Konohamaru might as well had signed his death. Sakura mood did a full 180 after hearing the kid wearing the blue scarf. She got a menacing look on her face and cracked her knuckles, clearly saying, "You're dead." Naruto pushed Konohamaru. "Run, kid, I'll meet you later." Konohamaru did not need to be pushed more. I don't know. But this is my 7th time and I still don't know what he's trying to say in this sentence. I'm guessing it's a he because I don't know. As he ran in the opposite direction with his friends, screaming in horror. Naruto shook his head and made to follow him, ignoring Kurama's chuckles. That kid has a lot to learn, he thought as he made a shadow clone who took after Konohamaru while he took a different path. If he was fast enough, his little rival wouldn't have bumps in his head. He kept his sensing active to track Sakura's signature and made his turns such that he would meet them in the opposite direction. What he did not expect was to face the back of two shinobi his age. One boy and one girl. The boy holding up Konohamaru was terrified. The boy holding up Konohamaru who was terrified. That's not good, he thought as he perfectly switched with his clone. and that was when he got a good look at the foreigners. The one that held Konohamaru honestly looked like a cat, with how his headwear looked. He was wearing a face paint of all things black sandals, black shirt, and black pants. The other one was the one who caught his attention in a way that no girl had caught before. He somehow couldn't stop staring at her. She was by far the most beautiful kunoichi he had ever laid his eyes on. She wore a single light purple colored off-the-shoulder garment that extended halfway down her thighs, with a red sash tied around her waist. She wore a fishnet over her exposed shoulders, along with on her left thigh and right calf. She was also carrying a large fan on her back. She had hair tied up in 4 ponytails, with a rather developed asset for her age, which he guessed was a year higher than them. Curves in all the right places, slightly tanned skin, sandy blonde hair, and alluring teal eyes. Tamari noticed the blonde boy staring at her and couldn't help the slight blush that came onto her face. He was pretty tall, easily a bit above 5 feet, and obviously well built if how his clothes fit him were anything to go by. His hair, to her pleasant surprise, was a very golden shade of blonde, bordering on yellow. She looked at his eye and her blush darkened a bit. His eyes were the most beautiful azures she had ever seen, staring at her with curiosity and something else she couldn't identify, but it gave her a warm feeling. She shook her head and focused on her brother, who was glaring at the kid with annoyance. "That hurt, you dang brat." He was clearly pissed off. Naruto decided that now was not the time to intervene, and with a hidden signal to his clone spoke up. "You might want to put him down, Kabuki boy." That only seemed to piss him off even more. "Yeah, what if I don't?" He then froze, getting the unmistakable feeling of a kunai on his neck. "I don't need to say it, right?" Tamari looked with wide eyes as the blonde who was standing before them had somehow made a clone who was holding a kunai to her brother's neck, and they hadn't even seen him move. "He's good," she thought as she saw Kankuro grudgingly release the boy, who ran and hid behind the blonde's leg. A second later, a pebble hit his hand, which he clenched in pain and cried, "Who did that?" Naruto couldn't help the sigh that came out. Didn't he say he was going to train? He had already sent Sasuke, who was standing on the branch of the tree behind him, balancing a pebble in his hands with a superior look on his face. Interestingly, he also sensed another guy, who was giving off a very malicious feeling and oozing off killing intent like nobody's business. Deciding to address it later, he turned his attention back in front of him. "Sasuke-kun!" Sakura shrieked. Naruto rubbed his ringing ears at the terrible sound. Tamari looked at Sasuke. He's cute, but he's nowhere near as handsome as the blonde," she smirked, eyes turning back to check Naruto out. Kankuro snarled and made to grab the package on his back, which Naruto deduced to be a puppet, judging from their sand headbands and the fact that Suna is known for puppets. When he decided to intervene, Tamari asked, "You're going to use Karasu, Kankuro?" "Wait." His sudden exclamation momentarily stopped the Sen Shinobi momentarily. He pointed to the tree behind him. "I just want to know if the guy standing behind my teammate is with you or not." Both their eyes widened, along with Sasuke, who whipped around to see a redhead standing upside down on a branch behind him. He had a kanji for love on his forehead, teal eyes with black rings around his eyes, giving him an appearance like Tanuki, and he was carrying a gourd on his back. He disappeared in a world of sand and reappeared by the side of the puppet kid. "Kankuro, stop it. We're not here to cause trouble. Stop embarrassing our village." He spoke in a voice so cold that even Naruto shivered. However, the reaction of the Sen Shinobi were even more scared. Kankuro stammered out an apology. "Gaara, they started it. They..." "Shut up or I'll kill you," Gar said in his deadly voice. Kankuro shut up immediately. Gar turned to the Konoha Shinobi. "Apologies to you guys. They made to walk off when Sasuke jumped in front of Naruto and demanded in an arrogant voice, "You there! What's your name?" pointing to Gaara. All three of them turned, with Gaara speaking. "Sabuko no Gaara. What's yours?" Sasuke gave off a challenging smirk. "Uchiha Sasuke." "I wasn't talking to you," Gaara said monotonously, eyes turning to Naruto, who straightened up. "Uzumaki Naruto," he said in a strong voice, eyes shifting to Temari. He smiled and asked, "What's yours?" Temari smiled in turn. Sabaku no Temari. "Nice to meet you." They looked into each other's eyes and kept staring, neither wanting to look away. Unfortunately, Sakura chose this moment to speak up. "Listen, although Konoha and Suna are allies, our treaty prevents shinobi from entering each other's villages without permission. State your purpose." Naruto simply looked on, his face not betraying anything. Temari spoke up, holding up her passport. "As you can see, we're getting of Sonagaku no Sato, Kaze no Kuni. We've came to this village to take part in the tuning exams." She gave a mocking smile to her. "Don't you know being the genin of the host village?" Naruto gave a shake of his head from behind, Sakura clearly mouthing, "Our sensei hasn't informed us yet, Temari." Temari had thankfully seen him and received his message, giving him a nod. The three Sand siblings then turned and walked away, leaving Team 7 with Konohamaru and his friends. Hey, it's me interrupting the video to tell you that for 6K special, I will be doing a Q&A. The link to the community post that I will be reading the questions from will be in the description. So if you have any questions you want to ask me, click that link, comment your questions, and I will be responding to them when the Q&A video comes out. I might be featuring Unknown on there. I haven't told him yet. I haven't talked to him in a bit. Also, DM me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. Once I hit 200 on there, I will post 1 hour videos on every series that I will be continuing. So yeah, let's get back into the video. You all should already know why people from the other villages are here. The Hokage addressed the assembly of Jonin and Chunin. Kakashi spoke up. "Is it time for the year already? Is it that time of the year already, Hokage-sama?" Asuma replied to him, "I believe so. I have already seen a few shinobi the age of our genin in our village." Kurenai spoke up. "When is it, Hokage-sama?" 7 days from now, Kurenai-chan. "Now, will all the Jonin step forward who are in charge of the newest batch of genin?" Asuma, Kakashi, and Kurenai stepped forward. Hiruzen gave them a contemplative stare and asked, "Do you wish to enter any of your genin in the exams?" Kakashi spoke up. "From the squad that I lead, Team 7, I recommend Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura to the Chunin selection exams under the name Hatake Kakashi." Asuma spoke up next. "From the squad that I lead, Team 10, I recommend Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino to the Chunin selection exams under the name Sarutobi Asuma." Kurenai was the last. "From the squad that I lead, Team 8, I recommend Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburami Shino to the Chunin selection exams under the name Yuhi Kurenai." The crowd behind them erupted in murmurs. All three of the teams nominated their genins. All the genin being entered are fresh rookies. It's been so long since rookies have been entered in the Chunin exams. Irika, who had been standing in the back and watching his former students who were not even 1 year into their career get nominated for the Chunin exams, couldn't hold it anymore. "Please wait, Hokage-sama. Permission to speak?" Hiruzen gave him a silent nod to continue. Irika then spoke frantically. "Excuse me for saying this, but your 9 students were once my students in the academy. They need more experience before they enter the Chunin exams." Kakashi knew that Irika was worried about Naruto, but he was not Kakashi's student, not Irika's, so he spoke up in a serious tone that betrayed his lazy posture. "I became a Chunin when I was 6 years old, 6 years younger than Naruto." Irika's comeback was spot on. "Don't compare Naruto to yourself, Kakashi. He's different." Kakashi knew that Naruto could easily ace the exam, but he addressed the issue that was common among all genin. The genin starting to believe that a shinobi's life is easy. Putting them in dangerous situation might set them straight. Iruka began speaking. But there are not your students anymore, Iruka-sensei. They are my subordinates now, and as such, I am the one who will make such decisions for them, he sternly reminded the gentle Chunin-sensei. Hiruzen spoke to defend Iruka. Iruka, I see where you're coming from. Iruka lightened up a bit, which is why the rookies will be put through a special preliminary round. Dismissed. Chapter 14. As soon as the siblings left, Naruto had a hasty goodbye to Konohamaru and Shunshin out of there straight to the training ground 6. The team, he noted, doesn't train much, so they wouldn't mind him using their training ground. As he created a few shadow clones for sparring, Kurama briefly brought him into his mindscape. Naruto, do you know why that boy felt so familiar to you? He asked, Ninetales swaying behind him as he looked at Naruto. Naruto folded his arms. Good to know that it wasn't just me then. I believe that he is another Jinchuriki. Kurama nodded. Exactly, but be on your guard. His Biju is dangerous, and because of who is inside him, it's possible that the boy is completely mad. Naruto tilted his head curiously. It's not every day that the nine-tailed fox says someone is powerful. Just who is inside him, Kurama? The one-tailed raccoon, Shikaku. He's the weakest of tail beasts and badly insane. He said it with a serious face. I wish Naruto would have laughed if not for the fact that he realized that another Jinchuriki is roaming unchecked in Konoha. Jinchuriki, according to the stuff he has read up until now, are usually sent into other villages so that they can burn or crash it into the ground, and he didn't see any problem with Gaara, who was in charge of him. Kankuro and Tamari certainly couldn't control him, evidenced by how much afraid they are of him. Kurama continued, You notice the black rings are on his eyes? It means that he hasn't slept in years, probably. Naruto went wide-eyed at that. What? Kurama nodded in complete seriousness. Suna doesn't have any great seal masters, so the seal on the Jinchuriki is quite loose compared to yours. If the host falls asleep, Shukaku will take control and come out. Best be on guard, because he already got you in his sights. No doubt for sensing my presence within you. Naruto agreed. Thanks for the warning, Kurama. I'll keep it in mind. With that, he exited his mindscape and focused on defending exercises. As he blocked and dodged every strike from his clone, he hoped that Kakashi would enter them into the Chunin exams. Then another thought came to his mind, more specifically a person. He smiled wistfully as he punched a clone in the ribs, dispelling it. He had never seen such a beautiful girl ever before. Then again, there weren't many girls of his age in Konoha, and Ino and Sakura didn't count. He knew from the day he saw them that he wouldn't be liking them anytime soon. Tamari was different, however, in a good way. Her looks were quite exotic, especially her eyes. He had never seen eyes of that color, and he had to admit it was quite easy getting lost in them for him. He knew from his own observation that his own color was one of a kind in all of Konoha. Her being a blonde like him was only a plus point in his eyes. From what he had observed and could tell, she and the other two shinobi were siblings, with Tamari being the oldest. It was pretty easy to reach that conclusion. Tamari and Gaara shared the same eyes and facial shape, but Tamari shared the shape of her eyes with Kankuro, not to mention the way she acted with them. Very much like an older sister who was used to bashing her brother's head but didn't because they were in public. And that smirk, oh, Okami. He could say with full certainty that it was the sexiest smirk he had seen amongst the girls of his age, which was quite ironic seeing he created the sexy jutsu. Her smile was not far behind, though it could easily beat her smirk when coupled with the very pretty blush that came over her face while she was looking at him. He could not wait to see her again.
Wanted a bitch who was on the move, but you on a goddamn late. Got that one in my bed and she just wanna sleep. Fucking up all of the sheets. She only wake up to eat. Do this shit every week. Like why you do that? Crying you wanna be great, but sleeping until the next day. Why you do that? Got that much in the bank. We go out, she order the steak.